This really is Sonic Generations because I'm catching up with the past. Today I'm looking at a few mods I didn't get around to a few months ago because I was trying to make a lot of Frontiers videos. We're looking at Modern Momentum Spin Dash, Windmill Isle Act 5, Score Generations, and the Unleashed Experience. That's not all though, because after that I'm going to be showing off another skin and another custom move. Now, I actually meant to play this custom level and this Spin Dash mod like 2 or 3 months ago, but I never really got around to it. Now, the cool thing about this is that we have like a real Spin Dash on Modern Sonic for the first time in like ever? Now, I have seen other attempts at a modern Spin Dash before, but this one in specific goes the extra mile by actually letting us rev up, and it gives us like a proper animation for it and sound effects and everything like that. It's a huge step up from what I've seen before. And to top it all off, we have the Unleashed physics, which give an insane initial boost, with the trade-off being that the speed from the boost overall balances out over time. It is supposed to perfectly emulate the Sonic Unleashed Wii physics. Now, one of the things I love about the Spin Dash is that it automatically corrects the camera, and it lets me do things like that. So now I can use different movement tools to have more control over a 3D platforming space. It's really cool. And another thing that we're working here with today are And another thing about the Unleashed physics is that we have this extremely wide and hard to control drift, because it's supposed to kind of be a part of the Dimps version level design. Somehow, as well, your basic running speed is so much faster, probably thanks to the momentum. And for some reason, the Unleashed air boost is basically just flying. I don't know why, but it's really fun. And since the Unleashed drift is so wide, I love just using the ball and curling up because you actually get some pretty decent 360-degree control that way. And look at this, look how fast you go downhill, just from a mod in this game. Like, that looks like an official thing that you should have in pretty much every Sonic game. Oh, look at that. That's another thing I love about this level, dude. Like, look at all these fallen pillars. This decoration is awesome. And all of this, just because I hit that little curb, ow, it sent me down to, like, this lower route, where I actually, you know, it's slower, just like regular Sonic level design, but we're sent down into this little pit where the focus is basically on defeating enemies, which reminds me a lot of, like, the level design in Sonic Heroes, where there's, like, certain bits that force you to focus on combat, which is a thing that I wish would return in linear Sonic level design. Look at all these stones and trees and that little pile of broken pillars and rocks back there. Like, it fits seamlessly into the Apotos aesthetic. And like, look at this, you got Badnik sitting on the peaks of these rocks and everything too. It like seamlessly blends everything together. Look at this big open space. There's so much space in this level, but there's like always an alternate path or a piece of decoration to go along with it. It's really impressive, the level of detail here. Now, here's the beauty of custom moves. When you're using custom moves, you can pretty much choose what kind of Sonic game you're playing, because in Sonic Adventure, I'd say to myself, oh no, I missed that, but then I can just Spin Dash right on over. Like, look how seamlessly this bridge fits in. The way that it's like a loop, kind of like the natural loops you see in some of the islands in the world, like Self Island and stuff, but it's just actual architecture from like the human parts of the lands. Like, I don't know what human is actually going to be able to utilize that bridge, but I don't know, it's just cool stylization, it fits really nicely. And because the drift is doggy doo-doo, that's where the roll comes into play. The roll has amazing control for some reason. Like, I can't quite go in a full 360, but I can turn myself properly, and that's what matters the most in these kinds of segments. And there's like proper hills and everything too for me to roll down. Like, this is really just fun. This isn't an experience that I would imagine getting out of Generations, knowing how stiff its physics can be sometimes, but boy howdy am I living a dream right now. Look how big the environment is, like the backgrounds, like all the waterfalls and everything, and the basically mountains and stuff that I'm seeing. Like, the way that we're expanding on this is so insane. And the name of the game with this map is always just like not being confined to linearity, because the fact that I can just wall run, just with absolutely no scripting, is amazing. Alright, let's abuse some vanilla Generations real quick. Like, oh, the way you can see the top of the waterfall as you're entering the city again. And the fact that the city is so big. And the fact that, like, we're seeing parts of the city that you wouldn't actually see in Sonic Unleashed 2. Like, it feels like I'm just getting a bigger look at the more extended region. And the way the FOV goes in these alleyways, like, this is one of my favorite parts of, like, vanilla Unleashed. It makes you look so fast. Damn, S rank right off the bat, baby. Let's talk a little bit about score generations. What is score generations? Well, it kind of makes the ranking system more like the classic games in a sense. Also, check this out. Boom. Look how beautiful this side path is. The way that they, like, reuse the Planet Wisp moss and stuff to make it all glowy. It looks like a little cavern that's been completely untouched by the townsfolk for years. But Score Generations is an attempt to make the ranking system more like the adventure games and everything kind of, in general, older 3D Sonic stuff. Also, I love that, like, yeah, you could always kill enemies with the slide in the regular games, but something feels a lot more natural about being able to roll into them, and because you're rolling as well, you get to, like, keep it up. Damn, that was really smooth. Look at all this! Bro, I just felt whiplash in real life. That's how fast I'm moving. But the cool thing about the old ranking system is that it really incentivized you to actually interact with the objects placed in a level rather than just going so fast that you go over everything. So killing enemies, that's a priority for you in this one. Getting rings, that's a priority for you. Anything that gives you points is a priority, which I think is perfect. Because you're playing the game a lot more. You actually have incentive to try and go to different routes because maybe that route has more points in it. Sometimes you might actually want to go to a slower route that has more enemies in it so that you can make up for some mistakes you made earlier in a run. And I understand why they changed it too, because a lot of newcomer players, they get really confused why they get low ranks because they're like, oh, what happened? I was so fast. Because it's a Sonic game, so they expect that ranking is based on how fast you go. But no, you actually have to interact with the enemies, you have to interact with, like, things that make you do tricks and give you stylish points, and I think that's really fitting for Sonic, because it's one of the most stylish franchises, so you're kind of forced to be like that a lot more. Oh yeah, if you go too fast, you're gonna bonk the wall. That's another thing that I have enabled, just for funsies. It kind of adds to the challenge a little bit more, because it slows you down a whole lot if you are a little too antsy and you hit a wall. What I really admire about this level's theming is that, like, most custom levels take a very long time to make, because some people opt to go and try and make, like, completely original assets, but most people really end up just trying to recreate levels that exist from other Sonic games by using those assets. But this one kind of does something that a lot of them haven't even really tried before, which is reusing assets from an existing game, probably the most pretty in the whole franchise, to be honest, sorry Frontiers, and it uses those to make a brand new level in that part of the universe, so you completely cut back on having to make anything new yourself without being constrained to just be like a level import. Like, all of my favorite custom levels in Generations are the completely original ones. And while it's cool for you to have completely original assets in your level, you don't really need that for me to love it. Anything that feels distinctively new is just going to be my favorite. And I've said this in Frontiers videos before, I find completely brand new levels to be a lot more impressive than level imports from other games. Level imports can be fun in some cases, like I actually think that the Black Knight stages play really well in Generations, but in my opinion it's just always better when it's original, because then you're actually getting a new experience. And this level has so many branching routes, so many ways to get to the same places, and so many ways to get to new places as well. Like I said, like, this level feels huge, not just because of, like, the scale of just the backgrounds or anything, but, like, the actual level layout in it feels very spacious. Like I was saying, they use the decoration quite well to kind of add to your immersion, but, like, there's so much freedom in the actual open space. Like over here, there's just a random little ramp for some reason. And then here, you can jump over this, and then you can go on this other bridge that's just really highly elevated and actually feels like a walkway that humans would be using. But above all, I love the way that this level can combine the countryside of Apotos and the city of Apotos to feel like one cohesive location. Like, this reminds me heavily of that big open area in the very beginning of Sonic Unleashed where you're learning how the controls work. It's like I'm living out my childhood dream playing a extended version of that countryside, because I thought it was always beautiful, dude. Like, the big grassy green fields in Black Knight, 06, and Unleashed always got me really interested in the Sonic world as a kid. And it's just really cool that I actually get to explore more of that. for the first time here. We're going up like a big spiral, like it's like leading up to a castle or something here. It's just, I love how imaginative all the terrain is. I just love like the duality of the hyper-realism mixed with like the completely nonsensical layouts. And then up here, they're gonna want us to drift, but it's a little bit difficult to do. So I'm gonna utilize my momentum, and like it just like seamlessly goes from the countryside back into a bigger part of the city that we're not really used to being shown off. Now I'm gonna try and go for the right. Yeah, there we go. There's so many little pathways in these big running sections as well. If you're going too fast, it's super easy to miss where you're going in the alleyways. And this was my second run through, and I didn't do too much worse, but I got a B rank this time. It goes to show, like, the level of skill that you need compared to just trying to go fast. Now, I really don't think the Unleashed physics are really fitted that well for this game, and that's not, like, a dig at the creator or anything, but, like, they're just so much. Like, it is really hard to react to just the beginning boost. Like, in a section like this, I might wall splat really easily, but I've had the opportunity to play this level a few times already, so I got my bearings in order. But like, even this drift, it's so wide, it's obviously made for much bigger levels. That's why I actually love the combo of the spin dash in this mod, because the spin dash mod doesn't serve to replace the boost, but it's not particularly as powerful as the boost in its own case. It's actually fairly slow, and that's kind of the anchor that I need for these physics. I mean, I just smacked into the wall there. That's like the perfect example. These physics are so aggressive, but if you're a big fan of Unleashed, then I'm sure you're gonna love it, honestly. It's gonna feel right at home. Oh, and another thing that's perfect about using the roll over trying to drift in this section too is if you're using score generations, you're gonna want to hit clusters of enemies. That's gonna be paying your rent when it comes to getting a good rank. There are so many enemies in big groups, it's perfect for mowing them all down. Oh, I love the way that you can just use the roll to gain momentum down the wall, and then use it to get off the hill that's right there. It's really cool. And I love how you can see the top of the waterfall in this section too. That was just looming in the background the entire time before. Because when you go through this loop, you see the top of it right there as you enter the cityscapes again. It looks like I'm just going through a big sightseeing zone in the middle of summer. It's really cool. And then of course we got the top route, because would it be Sonic the motherfucking Hedgehog without the top route? There's one more route in this alleyway that I want to reach. Yes, this route. I haven't done this one before. It's really not that different, but I just like seeing everything I can. And another thing that I love about multiple pathways in Sonic games is that there's so many different alternate ways that you can go about beating these levels, and it just encourages your improvements and experimentation, because even just going to the left side of that section was a completely new pathway that had its own gameplay engagement too, where you have to jump over that curb without getting tripped over top of it. There's so many ways you can just move around. There's so much over here that I can look at. There's just this nice wooden fence, all the broken columns, like, it's so peaceful up here. It's a ginormous difference to the city just an island over. And to keep the alternate timeline theme going, I've got a Sonic Adventure DX inspired model that goes over top of all of Sonic and his animations. They've even got this fur material that looks exactly like his textures on, like, the GameCube box art, which I appreciate so much. Look at that little Nike smirk plastered onto his face permanently. You can't get it off. Now, it'd be a little lame if all I did was a little model import, so that's why I also added the Bounce Bracelet, my all-time favorite Sonic move. And we've really got to pay respect to Unleashed today with all the stuff we're taking out of it. We're taking the entirety of the assets, the location, and of course, the sweep kick. One of the best qualities of the Unleashed hub worlds was just like how much you could explore, and if you go back here, there's actual variants for the entirety of this level. I don't know how you would get inside this building, but you can. Oh wow, you do get to keep your momentum with the sweep kick. That's awesome. What a cool way to make sure that the Unleashed shaders don't go to waste by letting us choose between night and day and sunset. It's really cool. Wow, the lighting in that little cave segment looks really pretty, too. You can actually see, like, the moss glowing a little bit more prominently, which is nice. I can actually react when I do the boost, and now I can actually do a little bit of drift action. Wonderful. Alright, let's test out the sweep kick. Got the perfect little enemy cluster to test that bad baby out. Oh my god, the missile! The missile! It's trying to get me while wall jumping, that was kinda cool. Yeah, sweep kick into wall splat. Now that's a modding combo. Ooh, look how effective that is! Now what's so radical about the bounce bracelet, you may be asking yourself? Well, for starters, you get a lot of momentum depending on the angle that you use it on. This goes hard, feel free to screenshot. But the bounce bracelet is really cool, the way that you can utilize its momentum to get around places just the slightest bit faster. I say it a lot, but the SADX render reminds me a lot of Secret Rings renders for some reason. And the lighting right now is really helping my case. I don't know, it's just like the muzzle shape and the expression on him and the way that his quills are curved and everything. I don't know, I think it's fun. He just looked really spiky and edgy in Secret Rings. I don't know, his low poly model just was very reminiscent of like an in-between graphical era when it came to video games. Ooh, upper out? There we go, that was a nice new 3 seconds of action that we didn't see before. Look at that toothy grin. Oh, those flips were perfect for the Adventure DX model. Let me tell you what. Look at the shape, look at the curve on this man. I do love how low-key this little yard is. It's completely sectioned off from the rest of the town. There's really nothing going on down here. Just nice and tranquil, lots of shade in this sunny environment. Very cozy, that little corner. Ooh, look how blue he is at night! Wow. It's just so sick how every square inch of this level has some new piece of gameplay that you can use. Ooh, just like that. And for some reason when you use the bounce bracelet, your stomp is not instant. It kind of moves in an arc, which makes things just the tiniest, teensiest bit more difficult. Now, I think the bounce bracelet shines its absolute best when it's being used in the 2D platforming segments, because of the height that you can gain when you're trying to maintain the pace of the level. And if I'm not mistaken, it kind of looks like they've changed up the red ring locations depending on the variant of the level you're trying out, which is really cool. Oh yeah, look at that! That wasn't there before, I know that for a fact. Now, one of the best parts of the bounce bracelet is that it comes in handy when you want to cheat. And we don't really call it cheating around here, we just call it playing really, really, really good. In conclusion, I think I'm becoming an Unleashed believer right now, because, I don't know, you just feel so much faster with that gameplay style. Even though it goes so fast that it's really hard to react and or control it, I think that's just kind of part of the exhilaration of going so fast. That fast, even. Part of the reason why I've warmed up to it so much, too, is just because I have the rolling mod as an anchor. Like, look at that. Look at that ultra-specific pathway I just went on. Like, it's so important for me that I can just, on a whim, take control with the roll and just go the exact direction that I want without going so fast that I bonk. And you can even use the roll on all kinds of slopes and everything, too. It's actually pretty nice. I have no idea if this is feasible to use for, like, all levels and generations, but it works disturbingly well on this level, which I guess makes a little bit of sense considering that it's Unleashed. As always, all links are down below. Please support everybody. I like adding groups of mods whenever I do these videos because I like creating new experiences every time I play, and I just want to share that kind of experience with other people because it's very common for showcases to only do like 1, maybe 2 at a time. I have lots of bigger projects that are taking a long time to edit, so thanks for sticking by. If you're new to the channel, check out the modding playlist because I have plenty.